Hello and welcome to the Thoughtful Realtor Podcast. I'm Connie Chung.
I'm Cliff Tsang.
And I'm Kenny Gong, and we are the founders and partners of Willamar Real Estate.
And this is a real estate podcast where we get real personal.
Every episode, we sit down for insights, stories, and conversations about things in the market today, running a real estate team here in California, and finding our way as leaders and business partners.
Today's episode is on surprising skills that have helped us thrive as entrepreneurs and business owners, as realtors, or maybe just in life. Surprising, unexpected skills. Cliff, what are the skills that you were surprised to know that you were good at?
The answer that comes to mind is managing our finances. And it's kind of a little bit of an odd answer because I grew up very inclined, like I enjoyed math, and personal finances are still, like, I guess, a hobby of mine. So something that I enjoy doing. But I think the reason why I was a little bit surprised at it and feeling pretty comfortable stepping into that role as our team has gotten bigger, and now we have like commissions to think through and finances and all of that normally you have like a back office helping with, is because I have battle scars from one of my first job ever, which was working in investment banking. And the reason why I have battle scars from that was just, I guess, not cutting it and effectively not being good at that job. So I think I have just some PTSD and lost a lot of confidence in that situation, just because it was a tough work environment. Everyone was very, very, very smart, very, very motivated. And it was kind of a relative thing. You know, if you're like, what is this? Small fish in a big pond, you can feel very, very small. And I was just getting in my head a lot.
Yeah.
So it was a nice realization in the last couple of years and confidence booster to go, actually, yeah, I can do this.
To be with Connie and
Yeah,
I, where our skills are
killing it.
far, far below.
Killing it with Willamar finances.
What about you, Con?
One skill that comes to mind that is surprising, or that I always find myself as a shy person, but I think the skill that comes out of that is just being a really keen observer. So whenever we meet someone new, or I'm at an open house, or I'm meeting clients for the first time, or just meeting people at a party or social gathering, like being able to read people and kind of get in tune with what they might be thinking and how to speak to that. And so, say, for example, we're meeting with a couple and one partner is very talkative and the other one is really quiet. I learned to kind of lean into like actually pulling from the quiet person and trying to pull them in. And so I think because I am really good at being able to feel or sense what other people might be thinking in trying to create, a very active team culture, welcoming team environment, it's really important for me that I try to pull in people, especially those who might be shy or quiet or may not feel as comfortable, in trying to create an environment where they do feel comfortable and to be themselves or to speak up or to share their.
That's always so shocking for me to hear when you say you don't, in social settings, sometimes you don't feel super comfortable. I feel like you're just always like life of the party, so good at socializing.
Yeah.
No, it's also because I hate awkward silence. So I'm like, okay, let's blow this up.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a really, really good skill and a powerful skill to have, to be able to read a room, to be able to kind of get a pulse, to kind of understand the tenor and the energy of the room is huge. It's huge.
Yeah. What about you, Kenny?
A skill that I am surprised, I don't know if I'm actually good at this skill that I'm going to mention,
Oh, now I'm kind of
but one that I really enjoy and have an interest in is, I think I really like thinking about process, and I really like thinking about breaking down a project or something that we're doing into the nitty-gritty details. And I'm not necessarily like, I don't know if I'm necessarily a details oriented person to an extreme degree. I think generally speaking, we're all fairly detail oriented and have high standards for very small details. But I really like kind of thinking through the puzzle of how do you put something together. And this kind of manifests in me getting into our project management system and platform. We use Asana on our team and for a lot of our projects. And it's just a fun, it kind of just like gets that, I don't know if it's the right side of the brain going where it feels very analytical. I spend a lot of my time in in the other side, the left side brain, thinking about emotions and thinking about people. And so to kind of have that other opportunity to think about how do I piece together something that is, yeah, like a puzzle or sort of has a sequence and an unfolding, sort of an unfolding of a process. That has been something that I've really appreciated. And again, I don't know if I'm good at it, but it's something that I appreciate and have a deep interest
Yeah.
in.
You're very good at the process, and I'm always amazed when we're in a partner meeting or in a lot of meetings, the questions that you come up with in helping to delve into coming up with a process for something or finding out what the best solution might be is your probing
Yeah.
questions or your further exploratory questions are really insightful.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Okay, so surprising or unexpected skills that you didn't realize would be helpful or useful to your life as an entrepreneur or as a business owner or even as a realtor. What are some things that come up for y'all?
I'll go first. I had
Yeah.
one. I don't know if this is a skill, but the answer that came to mind was surrounding yourself, like environment, effectively.
Hmm.
And I think this is something that I've only actually, yeah, really in working with you two has made me understand the importance a lot in the sense that picking the people that you surround yourself with is might be one of the most important key indicators for someone's success.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is like I think between the three of us we have really complementary skill sets, and that just makes things a lot easier for each of us as individuals because I think the stuff that how my brain doesn't work, like I don't really think in terms of marketing terms. I know I'm
Hmm.
not as people oriented as Kenny. And so I think we've then found paths where we can feel very like in flow and work on our strengths and collectively kind of make the organization stronger. Yeah, the environment piece is like I guess it is a skill for people to know how to put themselves in a better environment. But I remember
Hmm.
hearing a lot from
Hmm.
like health coaches. They say like, hey, if you want to lose weight, it's like what is it in your environment? Like, do you have potato chips around? Do you have
Yeah.
soda around? Otherwise, it requires willpower to say no every time you walk past it. The easiest thing is just
Hmm.
not have those in you at all.
Hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing with surrounding yourself with good people. It
Yeah.
just elevates you without you
Yeah.
having to constantly think about elevating yourself.
Yeah. It also, you know, what's also interesting about being surrounded by people with complementary skills, I also think about complementary energies. And maybe it's because maybe we're all just generally empathic people or people that are sensitive to to energies. But I find that that's such a huge thing that I also didn't realize was so important or useful is to figure out like, yeah, what's someone bringing to the table in terms of skills, but also what is in that essential energy, what might be just, you know, fundamental to their personality that they bring to the table that can also have a huge impact.
Yeah. Energy is so huge. And it's hard to articulate it too. You
Yeah.
just feel it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of energy, I think of my dad's energy and I'm like, oh, my dad and I are so opposite. But one skill that I've picked up from him that has become a really pleasant surprise is I think just not taking no for an answer or like there's always a workaround or a solution. It's kind of that can do, like we'll figure out a way mentality, the immigrant mentality where, there was no path
Yeah.
created for you. So you just have to create your own. And I think it's a lot about being resourceful and just, uh, if the flip side to that, I think is sometimes I will take the challenge on as if like, oh, it's my fault. So because I feel like there has to be a solution, so I can come up with this solution. So sometimes it is a heavy weight to carry, but it's always because there's a workaround. We can fix it. We can solve it. And so it's just
Hmm.
that. All right, let's figure it out, kind of mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's an important, yeah, it's just, you got to do it. You got to get done. How are you going to get done? I think for me, one skill that I should have realized was important and helpful, but didn't until I had to is the malleability of your own skills and how so much of our job, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners and company founders, and yes, as realtors as well, is your success is so built off of your ability to continue learning and continue growing and continue, like, the skill of learning and the skill of refining the skills that you may not be very, very strong in. And I think that is a skill in itself, right? To be able to do that learning and to be able to do that evolution. And I think I always think about how I'm such a different person now than I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, especially 10 years ago, especially. And the skill sets that I use now, especially as a founder and company owner, are so different than what the skills that I used as just an agent. It's been hard to develop those skills because it's things that are not necessarily innate to me, or skills that, yeah, I feel uncertainty around or doubtful of in my abilities, but being able to just dive in there and do it, and yeah, and just try it on and figure out. I think that kind of meta skill, I think, has been is to me the most important thing, that, yeah, that I didn't really understand until I was in the position of how helpful and important it is.
Yeah, that reminds me of there's a personal growth, I think, kind of self-help author. His name's Adam Grant, who's become
Hmm.
really popular. Oh,
Yeah.
you've heard it? Yeah. And his book that came out recently called Think Again, about of that exact same premise, Kenny, that one's success, quote unquote, success in life will be largely determined about their ability to relearn skills, to like
Mm,
rethink and think again over and over again.
yeah.
Because you're right, it's kind of funny. Sometimes I think about life and it feels like there's actually no point in life where that is what it is and it just remains stagnant. Because I
Hmm.
just think about what you said in like the last few years, how Willamar has grown, but also Misan and I are now expecting in July, and I'm going to need to adapt because my way of
Yeah.
living my life now will not work with a baby here.
Yeah.
And then once you have a kid, and I'm sure Connie can speak to this the best, it's like the kid is constantly evolving, or you have multiple kids. So you as a parent constantly need to adapt and evolve. And maybe that's just how life is. It's
Mm,
just a constant evolution process.
yeah.
And we all
The only
just need to
constant is change.
true. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
On that note, what is
Ooh,
the
good
most
ones.
underrated or least recognized skill in the realm of entrepreneurship?
The one that
Hmm,
comes to mind for me, it's similar to what Connie was saying, just kind of being able to keep at it. And I don't want to say kind of keep at the grind, but there is this element of consistency
yeah.
that is very much needed in entrepreneurship because, if you wake up every single day kind of with the mindset of, hey, how can I just make this organization or what I'm doing 1% better in a month, in a year, in 3 years, you'll look back and have accomplished quite a bit. But I think it takes a really different person, different type of person to be able to do that day in and day out. Because otherwise, there can be a lot of burnout. It could just be a very tiring journey for people.
Hmm.
Yeah. Part
Hmm.
my response is part of that tiring burnout because it's grit. I think like having grit and
Yeah.
just, it's so much of entrepreneurship that we don't see because we hear a lot of the success stories and what's on social media and things just seem so great and so perfect, but so much behind that is just like it's not pretty, and it's just a lot of trial
Yeah.
and error and, trying to do multiple things at once, figuring out what works, trying to put the kid, to sleep while answering a call and, write up a contract. And it's just kind of all the things and to be okay with that and to want it. And I think that's like part of the grit. It's
Mm,
not just like being in it, but like having that inner drive to push you through all of it where it's tough,
yeah.
because when it's tough, it also makes the celebrating so much more worthwhile.
Hmm. I love, Cliff says this often, but the shifting mindset of I have to do something versus I get to do something. I think that speaks to that, where you're putting the kid down, you're writing up the offer, and you're dealing with all kinds of other things. And I love that reframe that you had just mentioned, which is, oh, but then I get to write offers. I get to be of service to these people and they are writing an offer on a home, and I get to spend time with my kid and I get to see them grow, and I get to, see them, or I get to spend time with them and put them to rest, and what a joyous kind of, yeah, and being able to navigate all of that, yeah, it takes a lot of grit and a lot of consistency.
I had to put the "I get to" mindset in practice the other
Ooh.
night. It was a 8 or 9 p.m. disclosure packet review on the weekend, and I get to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That helped.
What would have really helped even more is if you ratified the contract, which I don't know, did you?
TBD. TBD.
Oh,
We'll see.
TBD, TBD. Okay, yeah. I think I didn't recognize how much of entrepreneurship is working with people.
Mm,
I For some reason it didn't. It When I think of entrepreneurship, from when I thought about entrepreneurship in the past, it was much more like, yeah, you're working, you're grinding, you're doing all these things, and you're building, and you're thinking, and you're strategizing on all of, you're putting in the work. And I didn't understand how crucial it is that a really good entrepreneur is also working with a team of other people, and navigating those relationships and navigating all of those conversations that you have with people is so crucial, and has such a ripple effect and such a deep impact on, my efficacy as a leader is so dependent on my relationships, and the way that I show up in conversations, especially the tough critical conversations that I have with all of the people on my team, or with you all as co-leaders of this organization. All of that is something, yeah, that I really didn't understand, and embody until we were in it, and we were having those conversations. And I was like, oh gosh, I spend so much time thinking about not only how do I have a conversation, but trying to understand where someone is coming from, trying to meet them where they're at, trying to follow up a conversation so that people feel heard and understood and validated and appreciated. Like, all of those things I think are so important. And yeah, and I also just really appreciate that I am slowly getting, maybe not, I don't know if I'm getting better at them, but that I'm creating space to work on those skills.
Tell us a moment where you had a skill you didn't think was that important, but it turned out to be something that actually had a significant effect on your life or career.
I have one that I can share. This is something I've
Yeah.
been working on for the last, I don't know, 6 to 12 months. So the thing that I didn't think that was important was, for lack of a better word, softness in your communication and
Hmm.
empathy. Um, I think I came from, there's like such a basketball reference, but like the Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality, kind of like
Yeah.
my way or the highway. The way, I'm gonna be who I am, and I'm not gonna change who I am. I'm just gonna be hard charging. And the change in perspective that I had, in the last 6 to 12 months came from Liz, who I've talked about, Liz Coleman, my communications coach,
Hmm.
and her asking some really good questions of like, well, what is your goal of communicating? If you're saying it in this hard charging way, my way or the highway, what are you trying to get out of it? And I said, well, I'm trying to communicate with people. I'm trying to connect with them. I'm trying to get them to see my viewpoints. And she was like, well, do you think what you're doing is accomplishing that in the best way? And it was
Hmm.
kind of a self-realization moment that there's other ways to lead. There are better ways to communicate. And it's not like to try to, I guess, trick people to get to see. It's like with the common goal of like trying to connect with them.
Hmm.
And that's been a huge aha moment for me because it applies to Willowmar and how I'm trying to connect with people on the team and chat with people, but also in other aspects of my life too, just relationship with my sister, me son, and just
Hmm.
rethinking, like think again, what we're talking about with Adam Grant is
Hmm.
like thinking through how can I relearn this thing of communication and find a better path
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything come to mind for you, Con?
Yeah, two parts. I am very humble to a fault, but I think it does help me actually take feedback well and learn from it. And I know sometimes when I'm
Mm,
getting feedback, I could get one very insecure, like, oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? Or then just like get defensive of like, well, so and so can do something better or whatnot. But I think it's like taking into like being very being humble and being of like the growth mindset. Like, of course I can always be doing better, I can always learn, I can always grow. And so that really does help me to just like absorb what that feedback is and then really try to
mhm,
put it into action or learn from it and grow from it. So I think, especially as a leader, because sometimes I think we're taught or we're supposed to know all the answers, but we really don't. And we're learning too. And just
mhm,
embracing that with humility and grace and a positive attitude, I think really does go a long way in growing
mm.
as leaders
Yeah,
and growing a company.
yeah. What's a quick piece of advice that you would give to folks to uncover skills, to develop skills, anything related to building skills?
I love, and I probably mentioned this on our podcast before, the book Strengths Finder 2.0. And you don't have to read the book. You can just buy the book because it comes with a very thorough assessment and it pulls out your strengths. And some of them you may not even thought you had or you've known you've had, but maybe didn't see them as a strength. And I think that one is super insightful and highly recommend taking that assessment.
Mm. Okay, Strengths Finder
2.0.
2.0.
There might be a new
Cliff, what
one.
about you?
I love the episode on 2.0, yeah. It went gotten better since 1.0.
I
Exactly.
don't know. I got it in college, so that was, gosh, over a long lot over a decade ago, more. So there might even
Oh,
be at a whole new evolution. I don't know.
yeah, there might be a
There might be
3.0. They took their feedback. What about you, Cliff?
I think this might be a weird one, but I don't this is what's coming to mind. I like soliciting feedback from friends and family. So I feel like it's
Yeah.
important for people to have. I remember hearing this quote from Kevin, is it Systrom, the founder of Instagram?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
said one of his cherished best like cherished relationships is all of his friends who will call him out on his bullshit. And I
Hmm.
think that's sometimes important. I don't know the path. It's not like grab coffee. I want you to tell me all the stuff that you think
Yeah.
I could get better at. But I think finding out who those people in your life are that will actually um, be critical but also supportive. I think that is someone's best path to grow because
Yeah.
actually in my view your decent friends won't tell you those things. It's only really your really good friends who care about you who will talk to you about those things. It's kind
Mhm.
of like the friends that will tell you that you have stuff in your teeth.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. My advice would be to give space to reflect on what skills you're working on and the ones that you're developing. And that reflection oftentimes looks like journaling. I think is great to if you're a journaler to actually write down things that you're thinking about, things that you're working on, examples of how they may relate to some of the skills that you're working on, your experiences. Because I also think that for me, what I've seen is it's like those moments when things just happen where suddenly you're like, "Oh my gosh, this thing that I've been working on has manifested in this kind of way." And if you don't have a way or a space to be able to process that manifestation or process like how you're growing, you can kind of like lose track of it. And yeah, and I like talking about these. I like talking about skills. I like writing about skills and coaching on skills, like having those people that I think similar to what Cliff is talking about, having people that you can be honest with and candid with when it comes to things that you're working on.
I love it. Yeah, I've heard something of akin to having a personal board of directors. Well,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's a great wrap up.
And I just love that we got to have a conversation about skills here and also discover some of the skills that we may have not realized that we had or skills that we've grown into. And I always appreciate these times and we can kind of reflect and share with each other because sometimes actually even the three of us, even however close we are and however many hours we spend with each other a week don't have a chance to think about these things and share with each other. So I've loved this, and we are curious about you, dear listeners, if any of the skills that you have surprised you or have been unexpectedly impactful in your life or your career, please let us know. You can find us at willamar.com or on Instagram at Thoughtful Realtor and reach out to us directly. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. We read each one of them and are always appreciative when you share the love. So until next time,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.